And now on the other side, we've got the Fireside Chat on impact of crypto economy on esports. Well, I hope you all are having a great time, as I now would like to call upon our panelists for this chat, which is going to be Jacob Schrader, GM of Esports Zen Sports. We've got Jassim Oserin, COO Semper Fortis. We've got John Oswald, President of Games, Gala Games, and Nicholas Gonzalez Keller, the co-founder at Banker Games. So congratulations to everyone present here. Thank you all for joining us today. And it is now time to begin with the Fireside Chat. So thank you once again for being a part of our wonderful day today. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the conference. We've got an amazing panel today with Jacob Schrader, GM of Esports at Zen Sports, John Oswald, President of Games at Gala Games, and Nicholas Keller, CEO of Banger Games. And today we're going to be discussing the impact of the crypto economy on esports and gaming. So just to get things started, guys, obviously blockchain and crypto this year has been absolutely massive. To put things into perspective, it's been a huge year with Bitcoin and others hitting all-time highs. We've had massive movements in the regulatory frameworks, and obviously popular culture taking into effect with Elon Musk making big moves in the rise of NFTs. And yet we're still at its infancy. It's not a surprise to me that blockchain and crypto have true utilities across esports and gaming. What do you guys feel? I guess this is a question for all of you. What do you guys feel are some of the best use cases for blockchain in esports alone? Let's start with esports just alone and then kind of switch over to gaming. Anyone want to go first? John?
Yeah, I could go. So, just sticking solely to esports, right? I think, blockchain applications are bigger within, mainstream gaming itself. I think that's the case for a lot of things. But with esports, I think, the blockchain and NFTs really can, create longevity for game titles. I think if you take, some of the AAA games that are made, from North American publishers, like Call of Duty, for example, there's no continuation between, years titles. Right, but by leveraging NFTs, you can kind of, take accomplishments and take stuff that you achieved in past games and really carry them over into future game titles. So I think that's something we'll see a lot of in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, but what do you guys think about esports alone in terms of like competitive gaming and teams, developers, and that kind of relationship? Where does blockchain really sit between those two players? I think there's a lot that can be done, obviously, with regulations and kind of how things are have been going with non-competes and such. Anything you guys want to add on that?
Yeah, I think that, the power of blockchain, especially NFTs and this whole boom around everybody discovering that you can actually own a digital asset brings a lot of different advantages for the esports industry. I think from different perspectives, if you look at it from like a reward standpoint, I think NFTs, especially when you add like a utility value to it, can open up a whole new way that, esports players are rewarded. Let's say that, you're competing in a special competition and there's like 3 NFT trophy cups up for offer. And if you win that cup, then you gain access to other exclusive events or exclusive tournaments. So you're really able to open up the dynamic rewarding systems when it comes to giving things like NFTs and memorabilia. But also I think from the standpoint of, if I'm an esports team and I want to make, for example, collaborations, or I want to, let's say, create my own league, I can then go and offer, the players who are competing within that league, not only cash rewards or crypto rewards, but I can also create memorabilia that can then be resold on a marketplace easily. And you're actually giving that ownership to the users. I think that NFTs is so big in gaming simply because of the fact that for a gamer to make that mentality shift, it was super easy for them, right? Because I think everybody in all the other industries sometimes struggle to understand and comprehend what exactly an NFT is, or a digital asset. Whereas like if you've been a gamer your whole life, you've been like dealing with that on your day-to-day basis. You may not have understood it, but like when you purchase a skin in game, you're buying a digital asset. So I think also the educational barrier there is very minimal, and it's going to be much easier for adoption in the gaming industry.
Absolutely. I was just going to get into that actually from the development perspective and like developers, the creation of games. There's so many benefits in integrating blockchain-based systems, especially in-game currencies and other assets. What else do you guys see coming into games in the coming year or so? As obviously, John, this may be a great one for you. Kind of just the in-game reward systems. What else how else can we leverage, I guess, crypto within game from a developer's perspective?
I'll apply this to your previous question too about what I see in esports. I think this is going to be absolutely enormous and industry changing for esports. The reason I think if you think about traditional sports, at some level, they are all pay to win at some levels, at the professional level, right? And maybe it's less obvious. I think of like, what is the, right now they're a bit pay to win, in that if you are part of a larger team, really the only way that they can pay to win is, hey, you get to work on this full time. You are sponsored to be full time. So maybe that's like, a UFC fighter who goes through that, like from having a side job to now being able to focus full time. But that's pretty much where you're limited in the current set of esports games, because they're purposely not pay to win themselves, right? They're completely skill based. In the sport, that though I think is it's kind of a function of blockchain not being available in the games. If you think on the higher end of a sport that's pay to win, I think of F1 racing, right, where it's still a holistic skill based sport. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton is the best driver, but Mercedes spends the most, they make the best cars, and that's why those two parties have come together. So I think a new breed of esports games that leans into that. Picture now, if you want to compete at the highest level, you want to have a team that competes for world championships. You're not just offering your facilities, the training that you can give. You're also offering what are your NFTs in the games that your athletes have access to, and what strategy have you put in place for those assets? Like, what is your skill as an owner? Which is a much deeper skill set that can then be applied by owners of esports teams and new breed of
absolutely. I guess how to see increased value in what you're putting in game, right? That's exactly what players want to see today. John, this one's for you. Gala Games is a platform that builds a range of blockchain games, which we're huge fans of here at Semper Fortis and Trescon. How do you see play to earn games coming into the competitive esports space? Do you think there's going to be a ton of I guess esports or competitive competitions in the play to earn space? How do those structures then work? Because obviously the reward systems then change, right?
So the system that I was just referring to is actually a system we're planning, and I'll describe that in the game that we have coming out, which is called Spider Tanks. It's a kind of a little battle arena battler where your tanks are made of a weapon and a body, where the weapons control DPS and damage type, and the bodies are HP and movement, speed movement. In this model, what we've done to sell those tanks at various rarities is, if you buy commons, they start at level 0, and you start leveling from there. If you buy a uncommon, it's level 5 and has perfect upgrades. So every time you upgrade one of these items, it's variable the outcome you can get. So you can go all the way up to buying an absolute ancient perfect upgraded tank, but that's possible for a player to grind to that as well. And these tanks are what we see, people owning them could play themselves, or because the upgrades are going to be so difficult to achieve, you can essentially take other tanks and make them available for lease to players. So the way I kind of picture that is, you have a community of folks that are truly playing to earn. They're earning a currency which they can sell back into the open market or invest in themselves and buy themselves a tank. But this entire community that's more practicing is selling the currency to the upper echelon, which are fighting to get better and better tanks and actually compete on an esports level. What I also think that does is I also think of this as kind of like my dream that this would work kind of like English soccer works, where you can start from the very bottom. And if you're skilled, your ELO score keeps going up, you're going to get access to better tanks. You will be in demand as a top athlete just by your plight, even though you're free to play the whole time. But I think about it like these two communities. So it's like the club level is practicing, earning, and actually supplying the funds to the higher level that's fighting to get, they're putting that's the F1 competition.
The more you put in, the more you get out, right?
We're going to change the way the wing works on the back, that kind of thing. So this is the model that we're working on. And I will say, man, this industry is changing so quickly. So this is our current thinking. Who knows where we'll end up? But
sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. And well, just on the back of that, do you guys think that esports orgs will kind of see this as a new way to enter different games and especially play to earn games? Does anyone want to take a jab at that?
So I'd love to, but I also want to kind of follow up on what John said, right? So we hear all the time that blockchain esports games or blockchain games are play to earn, right? And that's awesome, and it's a great marketing line to throw on social media. I think a lot of it is also it's invest to play, right? You need to generally put some money into these games to start out, but this is not a sunk cost. You're not buying into FIFA with FIFA coins and just giving that to the publisher, right? You're creating a holistic and helpful economy to the rest of the world, and it really is an investment. It's not a sunk cost, because if you buy a card in a blockchain game, 10 minutes later it's worth the same price, right? It's not gonna tank like that. But once you make an investment, you're playing and you have the ability to earn kind of in a play to earn model, right? So I think you see play to earn all the time, but invest to play and then play to earn is kind of how I see it playing out.
Agreed. Let's just jump into tokenization for a second. And obviously, tokenization, blockchain, first thing that comes to mind is trust, transparency. What are some of the best ways you think blockchain can help bring trust to the esports space? As you guys know, it's been quite, messy up to this point, especially with competitions and cheating, hacking and such. How can blockchain as a technology come in and kind of fix some of those issues that we've had across the world, really, different games?
Yeah, I think I'll jump onto this one. I think that's a great point. It's actually something that we're focusing on as a core pillar at Banger Games, especially when it comes into the competitive environment, when players are either paying money and investing, or they're competing for money. Things like cheating and security and transparency are like core values that gamers really need and respect. And I think recently we've seen a lot of publishers have issues like Warzone, for example, with a lot of hacking and people getting around kind of playbook. So what we've been working on and developing is a kind of a new system called smart tournaments. And basically what that is it's tournaments based on smart contracts. So to the users, we're ensuring them that when they purchase an entrance into the tournament or they're taking part, that all of that money is instantly sent to a smart contract, right? So we don't actually touch any of the money, or none of the publishers, et cetera, can get involved or manipulate any of that, funds coming through, those payments being made. And then as the tournament's being run, and we have the anti-cheat clients in place, et cetera, monitoring, as long as there's no, flags of potential hacks or threats, at the end of the tournament, the smart contract will then automatically distribute those rewards to the players. So in no point do you actually touch or handle the money, as well as if there's any cheating or anything bad going on, they can all be secured that the smart contract will hold the money until those aspects are clarified, and then the rewards are really distributed. So I think it's a great way to tackle, these current issues that have been going around, especially when you consider esports and people are investing a lot of money there, and it's a highly competitive environment. These are definitely ways that blockchain can help with transparency and security for the gamers.
Yeah, I'd love to add on that because I love the platform side of things. And I know Banger Games, you guys have a tournament hosting platform using tokens, right? And definitely, I think the smart contract aspect helps both the player and the tournament hoster as well. What other elements do you think are in there that can kind of be supported through tokenization from a platform perspective? Other than just kind of like the setup and payout, what else are the benefits there?
I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think Jacob and John both kind of touched on this, but like if you think about traditional video games today, when you purchase one of their packs, etc., and you're buying one of their virtual currencies, and then the day you're losing that money, right? It's in the game, but you're not actually have control to refund it or exchange it into another game. And I think the power of like a tournament hosting platform like ours is that we're able to incorporate several different games or all different games, depending on, what the consumer wants to see on the platform. And then those consumers, as they play and participate in the tournaments, they're able to earn one currency as a reward mechanism as they play across those different games. So now what you're doing is you're kind of giving them a global standard of a currency that they can earn in one game. For example, if they're playing a Counter-Strike tournament, if they then go to play a Call of Duty tournament, they're earning the same currency. And then they have that freedom and control to really decide and dictate what they do with those earnings, rather than it having, no real tangible value, which you see in most traditional games to date.
Excellent. And they're kind of able to do whatever they want with what they earn, right?
Exactly. And I think as we see, these traditional games kind of catch on and the community really be educated more and more about these issues every day, I think they're going to feel a lot of pressure in the sense that I see the publishers of having like a golden era up into now, because, usually it's young people who are playing these games who don't really understand like the economical aspects behind it. So they're constantly spending and investing things that they don't have any true ownership over. So giving them a way to really play any game, earn a certain currency, I think in the long-term future, we're going to be able to, expand with partnerships into taking those currencies and actually transacting within specific games or specific marketplaces, and really giving back the freedom and control to the gamers from day one.
Cross-platform transactions.
Exactly.
Awesome. Truly, truly awesome. And I think just to move that over to Jacob, obviously Zen, you guys have a fantastic platform over there. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing, and very similar, right, to what Nicholas was saying is, except obviously on the betting side of things. How do you kind of ensure that there's, or how do you use crypto blockchain to protect yourselves from fraudulent practice, illegal match fixing, gambling? How do you use crypto transactions to make it more advantageous when dealing with betting?
Yeah, so first I'd like to kind of follow up on what Nicholas said. Right, we run a similar model, right? We run tournaments on our app as well, but we also have a lot of daily fantasy and sports betting features, right? So what we really use our cryptocurrency, which is called the sports token, to do is kind of connect all those features, right? And what it really does is allows you to create a rewards program that keeps people in your ecosystem, right? You have your branded cryptocurrency, and for betting on matches in fiat, there's a 5% fee, but with sports tokens, it's 2.5%, as well as the fact that you get a ton of cashback reward bonuses in sports tokens if you place a certain number of bets, right? We have a staking program where if you're staking 20 million sports tokens, you earn extra sports tokens for winning our esports tournaments, right? So I think the biggest thing with the cryptocurrencies within platforms is it kind of allows you to keep your ecosystem engaged, right? If you have valuable IP around your token, people are going to stick, right? We see, really good stickiness in games like Splinterlands, which is a game Zen Sports runs tournaments on. They reward people in, both their governance token and their utility token. And, I would say so much of the rewards are just simply reinvested back into the game. And it follows kind of the model that we're seeing, Fortnite really brought, which was the marginal transaction model. And crypto is perfect for that. It allows for, a ton of small purchases where there's very low fees, but, really the stickiness of the cryptocurrency, the branded cryptocurrency is what brings that together. As for the fraudulency side of things, right? So at Zen Sports, on our peer-to-peer marketplace, right? So we operate both as a traditional sports book as well as a peer-to-peer sports book. And on the peer-to-peer side, right, if there's a dispute about a match result, right, someone says I won, the other person says I won. What happens actually is, when the people place the bets, we place the funds in escrow. And then, the disputed bet goes up for voting within our community, right? So, if one person was outright lying, the community would vote on that. And the reason why they're kind of motivated to vote correctly is that they receive a portion of the escrow funds from the person who, quote unquote lied. So, I think with smart contracts and, the kind of community feature of cryptocurrency, that gives us a lot of ability to fix that, at least on the peer-to-peer side.
Awesome. Just to take it back, it's really, I think for all three of you, it's all about kind of community and honing that community around the token, around, what you're trying to do, whether it's through the game, through the platform, through your token, right? So for you guys, I guess, what is the best way and what's worked for you in terms of creating that community and keeping everyone, I guess, excited for, about the next phase? Does anyone want to take that first? John?
So one of the things that I love about, just at its heart, the reason we got into this was the user value proposition, going from traditional free to play to owning your items on the blockchain, where the folks that drive the entire growth of game communities, which lead to ultimately the success, actually get to take part in that success. You actually, it aligns developers and players together in that endeavor. I love it. So we're doing a lot of work to put, we have our Gala token that is overarching on the ecosystem. We're also starting to launch coins for our individual games. What I love about both of those, but especially the games one, is the value of those tokens are really defined by the users, the communities, and how they grow. So wherever they start, wherever they go, completely depends on how the community actually grows the game. And when you think of it in terms of esports, then for something to grow enough to have a competitive professional sport on the top of it, it lends the value of the entire ecosystem is shared with all of the folks that worked to create that ecosystem. So largely from our perspective, because a lot of our stuff is yet to launch, it's making that system as transparent as possible, so users can all see what their role will be in it. So in Spider Tanks, you could see what being a pilot will mean and how you can earn that way. And the folks that are buying the tanks that we have for sale right now understand, one, what they can actually do with them in the game, but also how they can use them in this ecosystem to keep advancing in the game themselves.
Awesome. And I think it's what you guys have done great is kind of utilizing that across your full network, which I think your community loves. And I know you guys have been doing some fantastic stuff. Jacob, Nick, any of you guys just want to hit on that point? What have you guys done great, or what do you think are the best practices kind of for honing in, keeping your community alive, especially when you're touching on a token or some form of crypto within the gaming space? What is it that keeps everyone active? Because it's a crazy market. Things are happening all the time. So how do you keep your community fully engaged?
Yeah, so I think it's really all about, having great IP. For us, that's great daily fantasy offerings. It's hosting, really awesome and fun tournaments, as well as having, the cheapest and most kind of holistic sports book. For Gala Games, it's creating great games, but we know content is king. And what really blockchain does is it just creates a different type of economy around the IP and the content, right? For Activision or Disney, that's all centralized, right? Activision just rakes in money from marginal transactions, right? But with great IP on platforms like ours, right, we're creating ecosystems that are spread out across the world, right? You're seeing people in the Axie community saying thank you because AXS is putting food on their plate, right? You'll never see that. I understand Activision and Disney, they'll branch out into sponsorships and brand deals, and that bolsters the economy, in its own way. But it's much more powerful to give money to that back to the people, right? Directly to the source, and just spreading it out. And I think that's really powerful.
100%. Nick, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I think for me, and I think it just goes to add to what Jacob and John said, is there's two core parts of keeping kind of your token's credibility and keeping it relevant within the market. First of all, I think governance, like having a good governance in place so that your users really feel like they have a say in the future of the company. They can really give you instant feedback and feel like they're a part of the company by owning that token itself. And then just to say a little bit about, the content creation side, I think for us, what's crucial is constantly innovating in the way that we provide tools for the gaming industry. So for example, like on our platform at Banger Games, we don't just want to be the tournament creators and the tournament providers, but we really want to give those tools to businesses or, influencers or any gamer who really wants to create their own competitive experience. So we really provide white label tools where you can create your own environment. You can really dictate the rules, the competitive experience. And, I would compare it to something like YouTube. I think a couple of years ago, people would laugh at the idea that you could make a couple $1 million from posting videos on YouTube. And I think that YouTube has really changed the way that people think about that by allowing people to become content creators and kind of white label their own content. And I think that we're following a very similar trend just in the tournament and competitive environment.
Awesome. And we're going to have to wrap things up here. That was really quick, but I'll throw this out there. This is just one more, I guess, for each of you. We've all agreed that blockchain can streamline the process of accepting payments and donations and prompting fan bases and communities, obviously, to interact through loyalty and incentives, right? So how does crypto, if implemented correctly, change the relationships between the different stakeholders in esports? So whether it be the teams and its fans, the developers and the players, the platforms and the players, platforms and the viewing audiences, choose one. But, obviously there's a massive dynamic in the changing relationship of all of them. And I think crypto with blockchain tokenization is literally changing that dynamic every day. So choose one of those, each and every one of you, and tell me what you think is kind of the best change, and how that's being made.
Yeah, so from my perspective, and I know I'm quite myopic in my view on this, is it does open up this path where the assets that you're actually running in the games are owned by someone. And what that means, it just is a whole new playing field for the team owners to compete with each other and deepen that relationship with the developer of the game. And their interaction with the game itself. Like, they really have to think about how to strategize around that. And there's going to be items that's the Mercedes car. There's only one of those. Who's got it? I think that's a really interesting aspect. And then it also just it's another interaction between players on the lower end and players on the higher end. Where you can be working with them together. You could be, playing for your favorite team and know that that's where your funds are going when you do a rev share process. So I think it's if that catches on, I think you're going to see a whole different slew of games with these types of models in them start hitting esports arenas.
So skin in the game, John.
Yeah, sure. Skins too.
Exactly. Nick, Jacob, anyone?
Yeah. So between publishers and the players themselves, what I really see is that with the blockchain based economy, it's not really possible for the publisher to limit the profits or limit the overall value of the game in order to take a big profit at a single time, right? The publisher is really motivated to just grow the overall economy of the game because that's what benefits them the most. They don't have the ability to just take money out. What they're really looking to do is grow the overall economy of the game and keep making those marginal transactions and keep making that marginal revenue. And the sponsors, with smart contracts are doing exactly the same, right? So with the decentralized structure of the economies that are built around games, I just think it alludes to kind of safer play between all parties involved.
Definitely huge change there. Nick?
Yeah, for me, I guess it's more focused around like the currency standpoint. I think just by giving players the opportunity to play to earn and earn a currency that they could potentially have that true ownership and make decisions just opens up the whole potential of how gamers interact within the gaming ecosystem, whether it's interacting on a marketplace or it's interacting with their favorite icon and influencer. And I also feel like from, a community standpoint, whether you're a sponsor, a brand, or an influencer, it brings up a whole new way that you can also interact and reward your audiences. So instead of, you spending your time constantly donating to people on Twitch or, watching their YouTubes, etc., as a content creator or a brand, you're able to create new, engagement experiences and really give back to your audience and your supporters in a new dynamic way. So for me, really the currency aspect of it all is what's most exciting.
Absolutely. Everybody wants ownership, right? And I think that's the biggest part is it's finally in the end user's hands. And I think that's a beautiful part. And it's just, it's massive to see how this economy is kind of just growing massively. And I, looking forward to seeing what happens in the next year. Forget the next 5. But thank you all for joining me. I really enjoyed it. And I know we can go on for ages. I tried to really squeeze these questions in, seeing that we had 30 minutes, but, appreciate you guys and thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, well, what an excellent fireside chat it was on the impact of crypto economy on esports. Well, a lot to take back from that session.